Welcome back to my personal lifestyle channel. What I'm going to be talking about in this video is another chapter in my video playbook that I've been doing called My Life Journey After Seeing God. In this video, we're going to talk about hip replacement surgery. If you remember the car accident that happened in chapter 25 of my life, this is the actual surgery that took place because of that car accident. If you want to know more and learn more, please keep watching. To talk about hip replacement surgery, what I want to talk about is the events that led up to that day. And I was told by 4 doctors that I would not survive the surgery. I was one of the complications that I had is when they give me a hip injection in the hip. They put me to sleep and put this long needle into my hip, into that socket that I'll be showing you here in a little bit. Now they just gave me general anesthetic, put me to sleep, and I woke up paralyzed to the point that I was pretty much dead. And it took about 3 hours for the medication to leave my system. And so that doctor that ordered that and actually did the shot, he called me up, a couple of days after the procedure, and told me that he did not want to do the procedure under his care because I may not make it through it. And so we talked to several other doctors to get other opinions, and I was told the same thing. So when you're told by 4 different doctors that you may not survive this surgery, you get a little alarmed. So what do I do? What do you do when somebody tells you you're not going to survive? You're not going to live through this. Well, the only thing that I could do is plan my funeral. Try to get my house in order or my affairs in order so if I did die on the operating table, I would have a plan of action for those people that were left behind to take care of my remains. So I planned my funeral and I talked to my family and basically said goodbye the day of the surgery. So I want to go into why my hip had to be replaced. So what I like to do is I like to shift this camera over just a little bit. And I want you to watch a little video with me that we're going to watch this together. This is basically what had happened that caused me to have the surgery. So let's watch this together. See how bad my leg is? That's my good leg. I can go all the way back like this. But when I get to this side, look how far I can go with it. You can't move it at all backwards. Then you're supposed to be able to take it out to the side. Here's my good leg going out to the side. Here's my bad leg going out to the side. Yeah, it's kind of a mess. Yeah. So as you can tell, that's kind of what took place as a result of the car accident. So when I was sitting in the seat, the passenger seat, the car collided on the passenger side, which would have been my right side. And the first initial blow pushed me over to the center console. And it is a blow against that center console that crushed the hip. And so that's what caused all of those things that you've seen in that video that I took. Well, what I like to do now is I like to show a couple pictures of the arterial approach. So this picture that's on the screen right now, it shows the arterial approach incision. So they cut through the front part of my leg. So if I was to stand up and show this to you, it's basically right in this area. I don't want to show too much here, but basically in that area right there. So what does it look like on the full image of that picture? So You see in this picture, you see before and after. So on the before side of that picture is where it crushed in at. So you can see kind of the discoloration where the ball actually fits into the socket. You can see that in this picture. So in the after effect, you're seeing what a hip replacement looks like when it's all said and done. So that's what it looks like there. Let's go into more of a transparent look. So that's what it looks like, just like I was facing you. That's the incision of what it looks like there. And they lay you down on a table that looks like this table right here. And that way they can manipulate the legs and move me around. Here's where I want to talk about the point of the reality that was really taking place. So when they wheeled me into that room, they had to give me a spinal tap to paralyze me from my, I guess, from my mid back down, so they could manipulate everything. The general anesthetic wasn't enough to be able to paralyze that so they could move, because even if you're under general anesthetic and asleep, you would still be fighting against what they were doing down there. So as you can tell, that leg that's further up there in the back part of the picture, that leg was the side that they operated on. This is able to be bent out at a 90-degree angle, and that's how they do it. They cut that part of that hip bone off that you've seen in that picture in order to do that. This picture is basically showing me preparing for the surgery. This is what I looked like when I headed back to surgery. And if you've been watching my YouTube videos, you know that I also have an online ministry on Facebook. I have a lot of followers. So I took this picture and posted a message underneath it. And you can tell that I had 22 comments and 62 likes or hearts, or people giving me a little bit of love. Very, 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 very important there. What I would like to do is I like to talk about what I witnessed when I went into the operating room. I was a little scared, and when you're told that you're gonna die, and as you can see in this picture, that's how my family seen me. And the pastor of my church, he came down and prayed over me and stayed with my family. But I said goodbye to my mom and my sister, and my daughter was there, and basically to the pastor. And because I was told I wasn't going to make it through this. And so that was okay with me. So I went into the operating room, and they said that I had to sit up on the edge of the bed. So I sat up on the edge of the bed, and they had to put the spinal tap into my spine. And so this nurse that she held my arm, held the front of me, because I was leaning over so they could get to my back, and she basically put her arms, up here to hold me so I wouldn't fall forward. And what I noticed was that she was wearing a cross necklace. As you can see on the screen here, there's a cross. Well, she didn't have a gold cross; she had a silver cross. But that's the first thing I seen that I knew that God was present with me. And so they laid me down on this table. Let's look at this table again. So they laid me down on this table, and they began to wrap me up like a cocoon, And they put these boots on my feet, and my whole lower body was numb, but I could feel them like through really intense cellophane, putting these boots on my feet, as you can see in this picture. And then they began to shave the area of the incision, and then they put their iodine on there. I felt that. But then they began to wrap me tight, and they started wrapping me above my chest and stuff. And I asked the general anesthetic doctor if he could play some praise and worship music for me before I went to sleep. And he said, sure. And so he pulled up on his phone, to my amazement, the song I Could Only Imagine. So that song, goes like this. I can only imagine what it would be like to stand at your side. Would I dance in your presence, or to my knees would I fall? I could only imagine. And as I was listening to that song, the tears were coming down my face, because if I'm going to die, I want to wake into the presence of God. Every time I went under general anesthetic, and every time since, I pray to God through a song. That song goes like this: Thy loving kindness is better than life. My lips shall praise thee. Thus will I bless thee. I will lift up my hands unto thy name. But when I went under the general anesthetic, I only got to the part of thy loving kindness. And then I asked the general anesthetic doctor to put me to sleep, because I started feeling the panic of them wrapping that stuff underneath me. So it was kind of a panic, and I heard the doctors or the techs or whoever was there. They were kind of singing that song with me too. I could hear that in the background. Thy loving kindness is better than life. So if you're going to die, that loving kindness is better than life. Here's a picture of my actual hip replacement. As you can tell, they had to take out all the structure into the hip. They had to cut the bone to put that long sleeve that you're seeing in the image there. And the biggest problem is the muscles that had to be separated to pull this itilia apart. And it's twisted, it's pulled apart, but then it's pushed back together. But it's been bothering me. This accident was on the accident was in July of 2018. The surgery was on August 21st of 2018. It was intense. And one of the things that I remember after having this hip replacement surgery is waking up. And I did wake up from it. And before I went to sleep, I asked them what time it was, and they said it was 11:30 in the morning. And then when I woke up in the recovery room, I asked them again what time was it, and it was 7:30 at night. What happened in those 7 or 8 hours that went by? I was in surgery, and I could easily died. But I woke up from that, but I woke up under the care of an internal medicine doctor. And I remember being really sick coming out of the anesthetic, and they brought me up to my room. I was hungry, but I was also very nauseated, started vomiting. And my organs probably from my stomach down were still paralyzed from the shot that they gave me. And so I was really sick. I was really sick from that. And so the next day I was able to eat, but I was having a hard time, getting up out of the bed and trying to go to the bathroom. Or I had a point that I had to use the bottle to go to the bathroom in. And then they finally started working with me to get up. And I remember that my mom and my sister and my daughter were there. Well, my mom and my sister, they get up and they walk out of the room, and my daughter's still sitting there at the edge of the bed on a little couch, and I wanted privacy because I had this hospital gown on. I didn't have anything underneath, and there was a nurse there to help me, and she had left the bathroom door open because I was hooked to the IV and everything, and I was upset, and I was also scared that I was going to die even after I woke up. So my daughter just sat there on the that seat and would not leave the room. And I tried to go to the bathroom and try to sit down on there. And when you have this big of an incision on the front of your thigh, you're not going to move it for a while. So I tried to sit down, and I asked my daughter, pleaded with her to please leave the room. I asked her once, but I raised my voice a second time. Really, really sick, asked her to leave the room. And then I fell. As she got up to leave, I fell trying to sit down on the toilet. It was a bad event in my life. And so they tried all kinds of things, and they took a lot of blood work and stuff. The next day, day three, the internal medicine doctor, she comes into the room and she says, "Have you ever had any problems with your kidneys?" And yeah, when I was 14 years old. And she says, you don't have any kidney function. You're not processing what we're putting in out. Your kidney function is to the point that you're going into kidney failure. If we don't get this under control, you're going to die. So now I got 5 doctors telling me I'm going to die. One on the other side of the operation telling me I'm going to die. So what am I going to do? I'm laying there trying to get better, and I reach out to my church pastor and on Facebook, as you know, I'm on there, and then people starting to pray for me again. So then they brought in some plasma to put into my system to build up my electrolytes, and that just felt like it was burning through there. And then they brought in something to raise my sugar elevation, and slowly but surely my kidneys begin to start working. So 5 days later, they says, we can release you to go home, but before you go home, we need you to be able to go down to our little area and walk up the steps and down the steps, but we also need you to be able to sit down on the shower bench in our tub and swing your legs over so we know that you're able to take a shower. And so I was able to walk down with my walker very slowly. I mean, it was tough. When you have that kind of thing going on, and you have the hip replacement surgery, but then your kidneys are in failure mode, I was really sick. And one of the things that they asked me to do was to sit down backwards into the shower on the shower seat, and then lift my legs and get both legs into the shower. Well, it was a left-hand drain tub, so I was able to sit down on the shower seat. It took some time, and I lifted my left leg just fine my right leg just fine to get into the tub. It was the non-operated leg, but then I had to lift my leg that had the hip replacement surgery into the tub. And I struggled and struggled and struggled to lift that leg from a sitting position to the point that I couldn't do it. And then I asked them, can I assist it with my hands and use my hands to try to lift that leg too? And they said, yeah, you can. And so I got it. I barely got my leg lifted up to the side of the tub, but then I had to get it down into the tub, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And I started to cry. And what made me cry wasn't so much the pain, but it was the fact that for so many years, I've been helping other people. But I got to a point that I couldn't even help myself. And it devastated me. It was bad. It was bad. It was tough, and it's been tough ever since with this leg. I have problems, lifting it. I have problems leaning on it first going up a ladder. But the surgery was in August of 2018, and I'm shooting this video in July of 2021. So 18, 19, 20, 21, 3 years later. I can now lift the leg by itself, and I get in the bathtub okay. But most of the time when I lift the leg, I don't lift it from the hip. I stand up and bend it from the knee and then get in that way. But I've gotten to the point where I can actually lift it from a straight flexion. Physical therapy and occupational therapy, those therapists come to my house afterwards, and my mom stayed with me for about 6 weeks after the surgery to make sure everything was okay. I remember all these things. Hip replacement surgery is hard. It's hard to do. But on the 5th day after hip replacement surgery, I was released to go home. And then it came the point of battling with the insurance companies to settle the case against the person that struck the vehicle I was in. So we got an insurance settlement from the lady that struck the vehicle, from the lady that was driving the vehicle, and also from my own insurance, because your uninsured motorist or underinsured motorist, part of that rolls over from your own insurance policy. A lot of people don't know that. So what I'm going to be doing in the next couple of chapters, I'm going to be talking about the gifts that God has given me as a result of the car accident. One thing that I like to part this video with is what Satan tries to do to destroy us, what Satan does to bring bad things into our life. God turns them around and makes them good to bless us. I want you to remember that. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any comments, please make them below. In the meantime, may God bless you. May his face shine upon you, and may Jesus always bring you joy. I'll see you in the next video.